The member for Durack.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Resources, Energy and Northern Australia. Minister, as you know, my electorate is home to some of Australia's and the world's most significant resources projects. Will the Minister update the House on the state of Australia's resources and energy sector, and how is Australia's sector positioned to take advantage of future opportunities through innovation, trade and proximity to growing markets? How will constituents in my electorate of Durack benefit from a strong resources sector?
The Minister for Resources, Energy and Northern Australia.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. And I thank the member for Durack for her question, and recently had the pleasure to visit her in her electorate. And for those of us who take about half an hour to get from one side of our electorate to the other, spare a thought for the member for Durack, who is the second largest electorate in the world, representing some 60% of Western Australia, 20% of Australia, and Prime Minister, your electorate fits into Durack 53,000 times, Mr Speaker.
Right.
Now, Durack is home to some of Australia's Durack is home to some of Australia's largest and the world's largest resource projects: the Pluto, the Wheatstone LNG projects, the $70 billion Gorgon LNG project, the North West Shelf, and more recently the Roy Hill iron ore project, which had its first shipment last December. And it's with the resources in Durack that Australia has become the world's largest exporter in the world of iron ore, and by 2019-2020 will be the world's largest exporter in the world of LNG. And Durack and the people of Durack are great beneficiaries of the boom in mining, which saw $400 billion worth of investment between 2003 and 2014, a record terms of trade and record job creation and export income growth. Now, it's true that prices have come down in commodities, but the outlook is still a positive one. That's because demand is growing. In December last year, China had one of the highest rates of importation of iron ore on record, and it's growing still at around 7%, China, off a larger base. India had economic growth at 7.4% and will be tripling its steel production between now and 2025. And the International Energy Agency has said that the energy demand globally will increase by a third between now and 2040. But the Australian resource sector is also strong because it's highly innovative and efficient. 3/4 of the iron ore production in Australia is on the bottom half of the global cost curve, and companies like BHP and Rio and Fortescue, with assets in the Pilbara in the electorate of Durack, are remotely operating trucks and trains and drilling equipment from their operations centre 1,500 kilometres away in Perth. And 60% of the world's mining software is written here in Australia. So when the Prime Minister talks about a culture of innovation, he's not just talking about a local start-up. He's also talking about established sectors like the resource sector and the Australian resource sector in particular, which is highly efficient, has economies of scale, and with the lower Australian dollar is continuing to do well. So, Mr Speaker, the electorate of Durack is absolutely critical to the success of the Australian resource sector. The people of Durack have been the beneficiaries, and they are very, very well served by a hard-working local member.